Imagine you're on the phone, right? And you are just absolutely furious. I mean, a company just lost your money, or maybe your flight got canceled.
Oh, yeah, a total nightmare scenario.
Right. And you are ready to completely unload on whoever answers the call. But somehow, within, I don't know, maybe 30 seconds of the call connecting, the agent on the other end says one specific sentence, and your anger just kind of evaporates.
The tension just drains right out of your shoulder.
Exactly. You actually find yourself thanking them. So what exactly did they say? And more importantly, what did they just do to your brain?
Well, it feels like magic when you're on the receiving end of it, but it really isn't. It's actually a highly calculated, almost scientific deployment of language. And the crazy part is, it's hiding right in plain sight.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are looking at the hidden architecture of the perfect interaction. For all of you listening, we're unpacking a specialized curriculum titled Mastering Professional English for Customer Service Excellence. Now, I know what you might be thinking, a customer service manual, really?
Right. It sounds a bit dry at first glance.
Yeah, but this material is essentially a Trojan horse for advanced behavioral psychology. Whether you're prepping for a massive client meeting or you're just a curious lifelong learner, this is honestly a masterclass in human interaction.
It completely is.
Yeah.
Because if you look past the literal examples of, call centers and retail desks, what you're actually looking at is a roadmap for making people feel respected. The core philosophy established right at the beginning of this framework is a total paradigm shift.
How so?
Well, it argues that excellent service, or really any successful professional exchange, is never just about solving the logistical problem.
Right, it's not just about fixing the broken widget.
Exactly. It's about creating a psychological safety net through highly intentional language. The language doesn't just communicate the solution, it actually is a major part of the solution.
Okay, let's break down how this actually works in practice, because the curriculum walks us through the chronological architecture of a perfect interaction, and it starts with the very first impression.
The initial greeting.
Right. Now, the text states you have to greet someone with a smile and a friendly voice. On the surface, I mean, that sounds like basic common sense. It lists phrases like, "Good morning, welcome, how may I help you today?"
Sure, standard stuff.
Yeah. But then it highlights the absolute necessity of a tailored greeting for returning people. Like, "Welcome back, it's nice to see you again." Why is that specific shift from a generic greeting to a tailored one so critical?
So it really comes down to status dynamics. Think about the psychological state of a customer or a client or even a colleague coming to you for help. They are usually in a slightly vulnerable position.
Because they need something from you.
Exactly. When you offer a generic, robotic greeting, you are reinforcing a sterile transactional dynamic. You are the gatekeeper, and they are basically just a ticket number.
Oh, that makes sense. You're just processing them.
Right. But when you use a tailored greeting like "welcome back," you immediately elevate their status. You shift the dynamic from a simple transaction to a recognized relationship. You are signaling to their brain, I see you and you matter in this space.
That is fascinating. You're establishing this baseline of respect before the problem is even introduced. And from there, we move right into the listening and empathy phase.
The crucial next step.
Yeah. The framework requires asking, what seems to be the problem? But then it strictly prohibits you from just sitting there in silence while they explain.
Yes, no dead air allowed.
You have to interject with active listening anchors. Things like, "I completely understand your concern," or "I appreciate you letting us know."
Because silence, especially on the phone or in a really stressful moment, breeds anxiety. Those active listening phrases prove that the information is actually landing.
It really reminds me of a doctor's bedside manner.
Oh, that's a great comparison.
Like if you go into the ER with a broken arm and the x-ray shows that jagged white line, right? And the doctor just points at it, grunts, and sets the bone. It's binary, it's clean, the bone is fixed.
Right, the mechanical problem is solved.
But if that doctor treated you like a slab of meat, never made eye contact, and just dismissed your pain, you leave the hospital feeling like you had a terrible, traumatizing experience. The medical issue was solved, but the human interaction was a complete failure.
A cure without care still leaves a bitter taste.
Exactly. The empathy script we're seeing in this curriculum operates exactly like that bedside manner. A perfect fix doesn't matter if the person feels completely alienated during the process.
That is a brilliant way to frame it. And speaking of care, look at how the curriculum treats the concept of putting someone on hold.
Oh, the hold protocol. The text treats this with strict, almost religious reverence. I mean, the rule is you must never just tell someone to hold, you have to ask permission.
Would you mind holding for a moment?
Yes. And then, crucially, you have to thank them the second you return. Thank you for waiting. But why the obsession with asking permission for something that is, ultimately mandatory anyway? Like, they have to hold either way, right?
It's all about a psychological concept called locus of control.
Locus of control.
Yeah. When someone has a problem they can't fix themselves, they feel powerless. They are entirely at your mercy. If you just say, hold please, and hit the mute button, you have stripped away whatever tiny bit of autonomy they had left.
Wow, so you basically locked them in a room.
Right. It's the difference between standing in a room with the door closed versus being trapped in a broken elevator.
Oh, that is a visceral difference.
Exactly. So by asking, would you mind holding? You are handing them back a tiny, symbolic piece of agency. You are giving them the illusion of choice, which restores their locus of control.
It reassures the panicked part of their brain that they're still an active participant.
Yes, they aren't a hostage to the process anymore.
Okay, so this bedside manner works beautifully when the system is actually functioning. You establish rapport, you ask permission, you find the right size shirt, everyone smiles. But let's look at the failure state.
When things go wrong.
Right. What happens when you look at that metaphorical X-ray and you have absolutely no idea what's wrong? How does this empathy script survive when the facts are missing, or worse, when the customer is just incredibly angry?
Well, that brings us straight into crisis management. And the curriculum is very, very rigid about how to handle the unknown. It introduces the never guess rule.
Right, which sounds tough to follow in the moment.
It is. If you don't know the answer, you are strictly forbidden from guessing.
Yeah.
You must say, let me check that for you, or I'll ask my supervisor.
See, I have to push back on this a little bit.
Okay, let's hear it.
Because if I am the customer, right, and I come to you as the authority, and your immediate response is, I don't know, let me ask my boss, doesn't that make you look totally incompetent? Doesn't admitting ignorance just completely shatter the illusion that you are the expert who can actually fix my problems?
It's a very natural fear.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's why so many professionals instinctively bluff their way through meetings. But this gets to the core of trust asymmetry.
Trust asymmetry. Break that down for me.
So trust is incredibly hard to build, right? But it can be destroyed in an absolute instant. 100 correct answers won't save you if you're caught in one lie. The logic here is that guessing destroys trust the very second the guess falls apart.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Admitting you need to check with a supervisor doesn't actually signal incompetence. It signals a rigorous commitment to getting the facts exactly right for that specific person. Ultimately, what people want is a factual, reliable solution.
Not an excuse.
Right. Not an excuse or some fabricated answer that just creates more chaos down the line. Trust is built on reliability, not omniscience.
So you'd rather have the doctor say, let me run one more test to be absolutely certain than just throw a random pill at you to look smart.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the ultimate stress test in the curriculum handling truly difficult, hostile customers. And the golden rule here is non-negotiable. Never argue.
Right. The text provides this scenario that I think literally everyone listening has either witnessed or been a part of. A customer calls in and says, I've been waiting for my order for over a week. This is completely unacceptable.
We can all hear that voice in our heads.
Yeah, they are hot, they are aggressive, and the required response from the representative is totally counterintuitive. They have to validate the anger first. They are instructed to say, I completely understand why you're frustrated.
Notice the absolute lack of defensiveness in that response.
Yes, the shipping company had a delay or, it's not my fault, I just work here. But hold on, let's play devil's advocate for a second.
Sure.
What if the customer is objectively wrong? What if they didn't actually order it a week ago, they ordered it yesterday, and they are just lying to get a discount? Doesn't saying, I understand why you're frustrated, validate a lie and potentially open the company up to liability?
That is the absolute genius of the specific phrasing.
Yeah.
You are not validating their facts, you are validating their emotion.
Oh, wow.
Saying, I understand why you're frustrated is not an admission of corporate guilt. It's simply an acknowledgement of the human experience in that exact moment. It's essentially a verbal judo move.
Verbal judo. I love that.
Yeah, because when someone is screaming, They're usually bracing for resistance. When you absorb the momentum of their anger by validating it, they suddenly have nothing to push against. The anger just deflates.
And once the emotion is neutralized,
You immediately redirect that energy toward a practical step. Like, let me check your order right away.
you literally starve the fire of oxygen and then point them straight to the exit. And the text is just as clear on what to do if that verbal judo isn't enough. If the customer demands a manager, you immediately oblige.
No hesitation.
Right. Certainly I'll connect you with my supervisor right away. There's no trying to talk them down.
Because trying to talk them out of speaking to a manager only escalates their feeling of being trapped or managed. Giving them the manager immediately validates their right to escalate. It proves you have absolutely nothing to hide.
Okay, so we have this powerful psychological framework for conflict resolution and empathy. But the text doesn't stop there. It emphasizes that we have to act as chameleons depending on the medium we are using.
We have to adapt.
Yeah. The core philosophy stays the same, but the vocabulary has to adapt, whether you're on the phone, in person, or typing in a chat box.
Right. And, if you're listening to this right now and you manage a team of software developers or you run a logistics company, you might be thinking, why do I care how a hotel clerk checks a passport or a retail worker finds a medium shirt?
Yeah, it definitely sounds a bit literal for a broader audience.
It does, but look at the underlying mechanisms. The medium changes how the human brain processes reassurance. Let's look at telephone support first. On the phone, you are stripped of all physical context.
They can't see you.
Right. The customer can't see your professional attire or the fancy corporate lobby. So the curriculum highlights that your tone of voice literally has to do the heavy lifting of the entire corporate brand. When checking an order number, every word has to project stability.
And then contrast that with navigating physical environments, like retail and restaurants. In person, it's highly action-oriented. The text talks about physically directing a customer to a fitting room or a server checking back to say, "I'm glad you're enjoying it."
Because in a physical space, ambiguity causes stress. When hotel receptionist is checking a passport and explaining that breakfast is strictly from 7:00 to 10 a.m., they are doing way more than just reciting facts.
What are they doing?
They're stripping away logistical ambiguity during a high-stress handover, which is traveling. And that same mechanism is exactly what you need when you're handing off a massive project to a new department. You systematically remove the unknowns so the other person feels secure.
But this brings up the most fascinating part of the curriculum for me, which is online chat support.
Ah, yes.
Because how do you project smiling and empathy in a text box? The physical cues are completely gone. You can't use an empathetic tone of voice like you can on the phone. It's just cold, hard text on a screen.
It's very tricky.
Right. And the source gives this scenario of pure consumer panic. A customer's payment failed, but the money was still deducted from their bank account. So the money is just, poof, gone into the ether.
That is a terrifying moment for anyone.
Absolutely. And the immediate calming response from the agent in the text isn't, "Oh no, I'm so sorry." It's actually, "I've confirmed the payment. The amount will be refunded within 3 business days." How does that purely text-based, somewhat robotic response manage to de-escalate massive panic?
It's a process called cognitive offloading.
Cognitive offloading.
Yeah. When humans panic, like when their money just vanishes, the amygdala, the fear center of the brain, completely takes over. We lose the ability to process ambiguity or vague reassurances. If the agent typed, "Don't worry, we'll get your money back soon," the word soon is way too ambiguous. It actually feeds the panic.
Right, because soon to me might mean 5 minutes, but soon to the company might mean next month.
Exactly. So without tone of voice or facial expressions, you have to lean on rigid structural words. Notice the specific anchors they used: confirmed, refunded, 3 business days.
Yeah. Very precise.
Yes. Words like warranty, invoice, replacement. These are structural beams. They replace the soothing tone of a human voice with the soothing certainty of process.
Oh.
They provide a rigid, predictable timeline that forces the customer's brain out of the amygdala's panic response and back into logical processing. The vocabulary itself acts as a neurological anchor.
That is incredible. Okay, so we've greeted them, we've restored their locus of control, we've navigated the crisis using verbal judo, and we've anchored their panic with precise vocabulary.
We've done a lot.
We have. But the curriculum makes a massive point about the end of the conversation. You have to land the dismount.
You really do. And that's because of how human memory actually functions. You might think memory works like a video camera, just recording the interaction evenly from start to finish.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
No.
No. Cognitive science shows us that memory is actually shaped by the peak end rule.
Yeah.
When we look back on an experience, our brains don't average out every minute. We heavily weight two specific snapshots.
Which one?
The emotional peak of the experience, which is usually the most stressful moment, and the very end. The final moments of an interaction disproportionately color how we remember the entire event.
Wow. So if you nail the dismount, you can literally rewrite their memory of a stressful encounter.
Precisely. Which is why the curriculum is so adamant about the first step of the dismount, which is confirming the solution. You never ever just say goodbye and hang up.
You have to summarize.
You must confirm the next steps out loud. The text gives examples like, "So, we'll send a replacement today," or explicitly detailing how a specific order will get a prepaid return label and a new item at no extra cost.
You know what that is. It's like saving a document before closing your laptop.
Oh, I really like that analogy.
Right. Think about it. You've been typing a vital report for 2 hours. Even if you did all the work perfectly, if you just slam the laptop lid shut without hitting save, there is this lingering, horrible anxiety that something got lost in the void.
Yes, the dread.
Outlining the next steps out loud at the end of a conversation is hitting she teacher all des. It saves the progress. It packages the entire chaotic interaction into a clear, undeniable takeaway so the person leaves with zero anxiety about what happens next.
And once you hit She-Trial S, you follow it with the polite closing. We appreciate your business, or please don't hesitate to contact us again.
The curriculum actually wraps up this whole journey with a list of golden rules for excellent customer service. And reading them now, after understanding all the psychology, they read less like a manual and more like a manifesto.
They really do.
Greet warmly, listen without interrupting, speak clearly, stay calm under pressure, offer practical solutions, and end with kindness.
When you synthesize all of this, the status dynamics of greetings, the locus of control and the hold protocol, the trust asymmetry of not guessing, and the peak end rule, it becomes glaringly obvious why this isn't just for call centers.
It's way bigger than that.
It is. Mastering this professional toolkit makes you a highly effective, deeply trusted communicator in literally any setting. Whether you are managing a team of engineers, negotiating a high-stakes contract, or just trying to survive brutal office politics. The ability to strip away ambiguity, validate frustration, and articulate a path forward is an absolute superpower.
It really is a superpower. We started this deep dive talking about how this text is a roadmap for high-stakes conversations, and it's just amazing how structured it all actually is. Every single phrase we've looked at today, from "I appreciate your patience" to, let me check that for you, is a calculated, scientifically sound tool
Designed around empathy, clarity, and de-escalation.
Right. It takes the wildly unpredictable mess of human emotion and gives you a proven structural framework to safely navigate through it.
And, that framework actually leaves us with a really fascinating, maybe slightly uncomfortable implication to consider as we wrap up.
Oh, okay. What's that?
Well, we've just spent all this time analyzing how these exact, carefully crafted phrases like, "I see what you mean, let's work together to solve this, and I understand why you're frustrated," are proven to de-escalate furious consumers, solve complex logistical nightmares, and build deep brand trust.
Right. We know they work.
So what would happen if we took off the headset, stepped out from behind the corporate desk, and started purposefully applying this exact customer service English framework to the arguments in our personal lives?
Oh, wow.
What happens when you use that same de-escalation script with your partner, your parents, or your friends the next time tensions run high?
That is wild. Next time a massive argument stirs at the dinner table, instead of getting defensive, just pausing and saying, "I completely understand why you're frustrated. Let's work together to solve this."
Exactly. Validating the emotion to starve the fire.
Because at the end of the day, whether you are dealing with a broken arm, a lost bank transfer, or a broken promise at home, it all comes back to that bedside manner. A perfect